Welcome back to Realpolitik, and today in our studio we are hosting the head of European Studies Center of Yerevan State University, Arthur Ghazinyan. Hello Arthur, good afternoon. During the last few days there is an apparent interest about the regional visit of Catherine Ashton and those statements which the responsible person of European Union's foreign policy makes during her visits to the capitals of the regional countries. Today she is already in Yerevan, and I'm mainly interested in what expectations and anticipations are there from this visit. The visit is unprecedented. It is the first time for Catherine Ashton in Armenia, and basically it is the first time that on this level the European Union has put the region and especially individual countries of the region in its list of priorities. Thank you. Now Catherine Ashton holds the position of the Vice President of the European Commission, as well as the High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. This means that each idea and each word expressed by Catherine Ashton expresses the joint foreign political position of the 27 member countries of the European Union. That's why Ashton's mission regarding especially our region is considered as serious and important, particularly against the background of talks and expectations presented by the European Union in the field of development and implementation of the new strategy for the South Caucasus.
Եվրոպական միության կողմից հարավկովկասյան հատուկ ռազմավարության մշակման եւ դրա իրականացման ոլորտում։ Մենք գիտենք, որ 2010
We know that in 2010 the European Parliament made the first step in that direction by adopting the resolution 2216, with the help of which a general strategy in the South Caucasus was stipulated by the European Union by clearly emphasizing those priorities where the European Union should focus its attention. Naturally, those priorities first of all were concerning conflict resolution. The European Union had such experience during the 5-day war between Georgia and Russia, where French President Nicolas Sarkozy, acting as EU presidency, was able to conduct a successful mediation mission, have particular investment in bringing to an end the 5-day war and mitigating its consequences. Taking into consideration this positive experience, the European Union seems to have started pushing its policy in the South Caucasus by more executive means. As parliamentary means are important, but in terms of realpolitik, concrete steps were required. The Council of the European Union, which was involved in this process and is presented by the foreign ministers of the European Union's member countries, is headed by Catherine Ashton. For instance, the project of Southern Corridor, which was actively discussed lately by the European Commission. I think that Ashton's visit to the South Caucasus, which should have taken place in May, but for some reason was postponed till November, will be significant in terms of the South Caucasus' future foreign political and geopolitical orientation. The struggle for the South Caucasus has shifted from a Russian-American format to that of European Union and Russia. And taking into consideration the wide aspect of Russia's and EU's mutual benefits, it will not be that tough and rigid as in the case of the US. What role does the region play for the European Union in its list of priorities? I am deeply convinced that in the sphere of foreign policy, the main target of Eastern Partnership, separated from the European neighborhood policy, is in the South Caucasus. The EU was trying to develop a special policy with countries of the South Caucasus, but by doing only that regarding the South Caucasus, it didn't have enough motivation. Probably that was the reason why the Eastern Partnership was separated from European neighborhood policy, which has already been giving results. Particularly, the agreement of political association is being discussed, and later the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement will occur, which means that the European Union, after establishing a political priority, will turn to establishing an economic priority, which will provide the countries of the South Caucasus with a wide spectrum of trade and big opportunities. In my opinion, the most important here is the geo-economic project, especially after the gas conflict between Russia and Ukraine, where the European Union was convinced by its bitter experience that Russian-Ukrainian transit and Russian supply in general are no longer trustworthy. A similar scenario can be repeated where two sovereign states are not able to reach a consensus, and as a result the whole eastern part of Europe will be short of gas. After learning these lessons, it was decided to diversify the project of energy political resources. In this respect, the Nabucco project acquired fresh breath and activity. Only a few days ago, Turkey and Azerbaijan signed a gas agreement which is a part of the Southern Corridor and will greatly stimulate the implementation of Nabucco. During these few days, the member of the European Commission on this issue and the special envoy of the United States Secretary of State for Eurasian Energy, Richard Morningstar, visited Azerbaijan, who actually yesterday made a startling statement that the US will finance Nabucco. By this statement, the concerns about Nabucco's financial and economic component can be considered closed and dissipated, as the US would hardly engage in a financial project which implementation is not guaranteed. In fact, we can say that the US gave a political support to Nabucco gas pipeline. In this way, Ashton's visit should also be considered from the perspective of establishing the diversified policy of energy security. We can't avoid the issue of Nagorno-Karabakh solution at this point, as Nabucco is directly related with the security and stability of the region, which now needs to be resolved. The role of EU in Nagorno-Karabakh settlement process, the analysis and opinions that the Minsk group in this format is not capable of dealing with the solution of Nagorno-Karabakh, that France should be replaced by the European Union and Catherine Ashton personally should be involved in that structure. What prospects do you see in these developments? In my opinion, the prospects are promising, as the European Union is directly interested in establishing peace and stability in the region of South Caucasus. They often say that Nabucco is not realistic, as the gas that will fill the pipeline is missing. I think that we can speak about the tangible results and concrete construction in Nabucco project only after the Southern Corridor is built. What is the Southern Corridor? It is an area with no conflicts and with stability. It's an area of peace and stability which can operate as a corridor connecting the Asian producing market with the European consumer market. In this perspective, Nagorno-Karabakh is the last obstacle on the way of construction of the Southern Corridor. After the resolution of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, the European Union will undertake the stability component in the countries of the South Caucasus. Do you think that the European Union with its financial resources will participate in domestic reforms and the process of democratization of the Asian states? It will be correct to reach peace first and then democratization, because it's not right to establish democracy without peace. During the state of war, the European Convention of Human Rights considers some deviations from protection of those rights. The unresolved conflict, even if it's not hot and there are no military actions, is an obstacle for protection of rights and freedoms. Each demand to the political authorities of South Caucasian countries concerning the establishment of democracy faces a confrontation, who have an unresolved conflict. There is an impression that Russia is not capable of taking steps in the settlement of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. And a vivid testimony of this was the failure in Kazan, where a document was on the table and it was rejected. Azerbaijani proposals appeared, which Armenia could not accept, as we had already accepted the basic fundamental principles. Azerbaijanis tried to make clear for Armenians, through diplomatic and personal cables, that it was not against you, that they have presented these 10 proposals to untie Russia from the South Caucasus, to overthrow Russia and Russian mediation. When necessary, the proposals will be removed, and the document that the parties were negotiating for 2.5 years will remain. Do you think that there is a chance for the Madrid principles to be implemented? Of course there is. There is no alternative for the Minsk group here, at least regarding the signing of fundamental principles. The process of agreement on principles should be implemented under the auspices of the Minsk group, the co-chair institute. We should go 20 years back and understand where the conflicts appeared from. I strongly believe that they have artificial roots, imported from outside and imposed on our people. Let's recall the collapse of the Soviet Union and the emergence of new imperialistic ambitions of the Russian Empire, where naturally the region of the South Caucasus must be under the direct control. Russia didn't have any means but provoking a conflict, keeping it frozen and thus pressuring the parties because in terms of economics it was not developed enough. It had only one factor, to provoke a conflict and supervise the whole region by keeping it unresolved. Nowadays, its resource is no longer working because people are tired of wars. In fact, we just don't use the resource and potential for development that the region of the South Caucasus has. After a short period of time, by resolving the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, we will achieve the level of economic development which we could not even dream 4 or 5 years ago. Only right political will and courage is needed to solve this conflict. How sovereign Armenia will be in making that decision? How autonomous and independent will we be in doing that? In this regard, I see some progress, especially the steps taken by the political authorities in establishing elements of diversification in Armenian foreign policy. This gives me hope that in certain initiatives we will be able to show courage and boldness and to oppose foreign political other entities. Why not the US, the European Union and Russia? I don't want to segregate the Russian factor because if it is against national interests, it should face resistance. Doesn't matter who is the initiator. Nowadays, typical policy of independent country is conducted, and the French president can speak about European investments in energy sector in Armenia, which we could not even dream in 2006 and 2007. The existence of the European economic capital in the South Caucasus and especially in Armenia was not allowed. After the visit of the French President Nicolas Sarkozy, French ambassador to Armenia noted that Armenia is moving toward European Union with rapid steps. 4 or 5 years ago, no government could tolerate this kind of state. The integration into the European Union were only words in the priorities of Armenian foreign policy and were not substantiated. We see, however, that besides words, concrete steps are being taken, activities aimed at Europeanizing Armenia, and we can stress that it is being implemented. This initiative is neither governmental nor opposition, but pan-Armenian. I think that the originators of these initiatives should have the support of the whole society, because this is the issue of statehood. This year in Zavkazor, President Serge Sargsyan has expressed an idea which was not paid appropriate attention on by analysts. It should be considered as epoch-making in the latest Armenian history. The idea was that, thanks God that on this side and on the opposition side there are people who have years of experience in state government, and they are able to differentiate statehood from politics. If there exists an issue of statehood, it can never be considered politics, which we haven't seen during the last 10 years. During the last 10 years, politics has many times intervened in the sphere of statehood, and the existence of the dividing line that the President mentioned, in my opinion, has historical significance. This is a very serious and interesting theory in classical political science that politics must never intervene in statehood. If there are threats to the statehood, no politics should take place. And in this regard, in my opinion, processes towards statehood are going on. Thanks for the interview. I hope that it will not take long and we will meet again to discuss the results. Let me just remind that my guest today was the head of the European Studies Center of Yerevan State University, Arthur Ghazinyan. Until next time.